So no-code development platform coupled with our domain expertise-based content that sits on the top of our platform further enables and expedites the deployment of new solutions or change to an existing solution at a lightning speed, right? You can deploy a new change in a matter of days, not weeks,
Welcome to UpTech Report. This is our Apply Tech series. UpTech Report is sponsored by TerraLeap. Learn how to leverage the power of video at terraleap.io. Today, I'm joined by my guest, Veejay Jadhaw, who's based in Princeton, New Jersey. He's the Chief Technology Officer at Provenir. Welcome, Veejay. Good to have you on.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Now, Provenir is a risk data analytics and decisioning platform. So you guys are focused on using machine learning and particularly in the finance and banking area to help basically companies make smarter decisions when it comes to the risk that when you're lending money. Did I get that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. That's correct. Right.
Okay. So help me tee up to this. We understand the arena that you're playing in, and you're actually helping enterprise, mid-market, even startups in this space. What do you see as the real problem that businesses are facing when it comes to dealing with finance and banking, having to make smarter decisions with risk?
Right. I think it's what we're seeing right now is like a twofold story. Number one is really all about speed to market. As institutions want to serve their customer better in a quicker way and deploy innovative products at a much faster rate. So that's one genre, I would say, one element of the specific problems that we solve for. We enable customers to automate the business processes, whether it's buy now, pay later, or whether it's credit risk financing in consumer finance or middle market, credit card management, insurance, in payment space and fraud. So any business process that they want to automate, our product enables them to deploy those offerings to the consumers at a much faster rate. So that's one problem that we solve for. The other one is really all about data. Since we orchestrate most of these business processes that I talked about, whether it's lending related to credit risk associated with credit card or buy now pay later, or even finance or payments and so on and so forth, we sit in the middle of a lot of data. So our platform and our product enables customers to make smarter decisions, not just operational reporting and analytics from a historical point of view, but also how can they embed that analytics in the business processes so they have predictive analytics in real time available to customers to make smarter decision and real-time decision as the transaction is taking place. So those are two high-level categories. Now, within that segment, there are multiple use cases or multiple sub-segments that we solve for, right? I think the biggest one that we're seeing right now is in the area of buy now, pay later. We have tons of demands. In fact, we were one of the few, if not the only company in the world that actually enabled buy now, pay later years ago when it was relatively a new concept. So we are also very innovative from that standpoint. We like to partner with customers who are on the cutting edge and enable them to deploy new innovation at a much faster rate. So our platform solves for multiple things, both on the transaction side, where it's really more about business process automation related to credit risk financing, as well as on the analytics side, which is really all about making smarter decision in real time. And all of this is all underpinning machine learning and AI. So, I hope that.
Yeah, be able to use that. Taking a step back for a second, I mean, the challenge of both launching a new product, you said being able to do that faster or being able to make smarter decisions with the risk and the data that's coming through. Obviously, this isn't new. I mean, finance companies, they've been doing this for a while. So what's the shift then? Like what's the change? Are they just looking at doing it this now differently because of machine learning? Is that how it's changing the game?
Well, I think it's both. Number one, traditionally when you looked at the platforms that automated business processes, like let's say loss management system or origination platform from a lending perspective, they had to build those systems in-house, and generally it took months, if not years, to build those platforms. Any single time that you had to make changes to the business logic, or if the industry changed or there's a new regulations coming up, the speed to market was substantially low, right? So with our product, it's a no-code development platform. So our customers don't necessarily need to go through the whole development life cycle and spend months in development and then months in testing to roll out a minor change, whether it's change because of a competitive force or change because of any regulatory requirements that is coming up. So that's one aspect of it, that we enable quicker or faster speed to market because of a no-code platform that we have that automates pretty much any business processes, and we have out-of-the-box capabilities, buy now, pay later, fraud, that enables them to do it much faster compared to a lot of our competitors. The other aspect is really all about data. So yes, the analytics part, the OLAP side of the application, the technology, which is really all about reporting and analytics, is been there for the last 20, 30, 40 years. But it's grown a lot in terms of data and availability of data, right? Before, I would say, even if you go back 5 years ago or 10 years ago, it was really looking at, single dimensional data related to a transaction and then providing some analytics in terms of how did the business did or did not do, or what are the operational inefficiencies in the business processes, and so on and so forth. Now it's really more about making smarter decisions. So with the availability of very large data sets that's available, along with alternate data regarding, for example, mobile, as well as tracking of internet usage and mobile usage, just to name a few, and the further adoption and maturing of machine learning capabilities, you can actually create models that are much more closer to achieve the predictions that historical view generally does not provide, right? So there's been a lot of advancement in machine learning and availability of data that has further advanced the analytics side of the world as well. So it's not just about looking back, it's also about taking the data that exists historically, and then also leveraging all the alternate data that's available that was not necessarily available even 10 years ago, and then developing the right machine learning models to predict, and the probability of the prediction is much more accurate because of the data and the algorithms available with machine learning models. So there has been a substantial shift in terms of how now customers and technology companies and financial institutions are looking at building and deploying new capabilities. It's not just about a closed loop business process automation. It's about open system that can enable quicker change due to regulatory requirements or competitive forces, but also looking at data and how we can better serve the customer with much better and wide array of data that's available now as compared to what existed in the past.
Provenir, if I understand correctly, was founded back in 2004. Correct. And I imagine the environment has changed a lot since then. And you joined on in, I think, 2018, correct? As CTO, being able to lead this further. What can you share of your knowledge, both of the history of Provenir, where it started, and then you coming on of seeing how it's changed, of maybe even the initial challenge that was being solved to where it is now?
Well, so, even before my time, I think Provenir made a very smart decision to actually look ahead of its time, I would say about a decade ago, where the no-code development platform was really more at its infancy, right? And our founder and CEO actually made a conscious decision to sort of divert a bit and move away from your traditional origination platform to more of a product that enables flexibility in deploying new innovation using graphing technology. I think that was a fantastic decision. And today we call it, no-code development platform 10 years later, but 10 years ago, I mean,
it didn't have a name. Larry Smith, right?
Yes, absolutely. So I think that's a starting point of an amazing journey. I think since then we have grown double digits year over year, because now the industry is seeing the value of no-code platforms.
What does it do? What is no-code? How does it change? Is it just being able to provide access to more people to create a solution versus having to having a programmer do it? How would you describe the value of no-code?
Yeah, I think it's twofold. One is, it enables a much larger demographics to automate your business processes. So now you're not just limited to very low-level detail, C++, Java programmer to write your business processes. So now you have diversified your talent pool to build these capabilities. So I think that enables, it gives opportunities for many other people who are not necessarily programmers and engineers to write software or to automate the business processes, which I think has a much larger social impact. So that's one aspect, which is a benefit, I think, is for the society as a whole and for companies, of course, from a talent retention and diversification standpoint. And the other piece is really all about speed to market. Say the era is gone where we can actually implement new products, which can take anywhere from 12 to 18 months. I mean, that doesn't exist anymore, right? So no-code development platform coupled with our domain expertise-based content that sits on the top of our platform further enables and expedites the deployment of new solutions or change to an existing solution at a lightning speed, right? You can deploy a new change in a matter of days, not weeks, compared to what it was before. So I think those are the broader topics in terms of how it's shifted or shifting the industry as a whole.
Would you say that no-code movement basically enabling every knowledge worker to be a software developer? Then they develop the software?
At this point really becomes understanding the business process that you want to automate, right? That's really the required skill set besides some basic understanding of the system and usage and things like that. So the opportunity for a business analyst, for example, who has limited to no exposure to writing code can also build software.
So it's the access to being able to have the tools to automate, but also access to the data to be able to automate things that the two combined create a good result.
Absolutely, for Provenir, right, and our customers. Now,
for you, I appreciate you sharing from the history of Provenir, already focusing on the no-code movement 10 years ago. Your own kind of what you see as a CTO and your track record of in the roles that you played in many different companies. What are you most excited about? Like, what gets you up in the morning and just say, wow, this space right now, I am excited about X. What drives you?
So I love innovation. I've always been very interested in innovation, and technology is something which I've been, involved with right from my childhood, if you will. So I just love technology and what kind of specific industry and customer problems that you can solve with technology. But at the heart of all that is innovation. That's what just keeps me going. And at Provenir, our organizational DNA is a very entrepreneurial organization. We are a technology company, and innovation is on the forefront of everything that we do. So we are always ahead of the market and always ahead of our time in terms of what we can do better to improve customer experiences, to be ahead of the competition, and also in generally what things that we can do that is probably going to be disruptive. Provenir gives me the opportunity to sort of use that as a playing ground and sort of ground me with innovation. And we have a fantastic team, and everyone is very innovative and want to deliver new software to our customers.
I appreciate your love of just innovation and being able to grow things. And you mentioned this entrepreneurial spirit or mindset of the company. I'm curious, from your history and what you've seen in Provenir as a leader, if someone wanted to institute an entrepreneurial mindset inside of their organization, like, what are you guys doing? What have you found that has worked well to keep that mentality, that mode of an entrepreneurial mindset inside of a business?
Correct. So we want to, so I think there are two folds to it. Number one is people, and then the process side of the world, right? So we have top-down enablement and empowerment of employees, right? So everyone at the table, doesn't matter whether you're the founder and CEO or whether you're the chief technology officer or general manager leading a region, everyone contributes. So it's a level playing field for everyone, and contribution is very important. So it's very self-empowerment kind of a culture that our founder has enabled, and that's been there in the company since its inception. And in my last 3 years, I've seen that actually continue to grow. I mean, as our teams and size are doubling and quadrupling on a year-to-year basis, I'm seeing that spirit not going away, because it starts with people setting the right tone and establishing the right culture, which is, empowering people, hiring the right people, empowering them and enabling them to do what they do best. So that's one. The second piece is processes. We want to retain a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship. So that means, we want to be quick and agile in deploying new innovation to the market at a much faster pace. We want to make sure that our processes are lean. We use agile methodologies so that, we're not stuck in bureaucracy of doing A, B, and C in a linear fashion. We are very agile in our thinking. So our processes represents our thinking, with the mindset that we are also a large company and we're growing. So we also want to maintain scale. So we have enough processes to sort of enable scale and make sure that we have all the right discipline in place to scale. but our core is innovation, and the core is how do we improve customer experience and how do we get to market faster with the world-class products with great quality. So those are the two things, right? We keep our processes lean and agile, and we live by that on a daily basis. And then on the people side, we hire the kind of people that fits our culture, which is entrepreneurial, hands-on. And then our leadership all the way down is enabled to contribute on a day in and day out basis. So I think those two mixes enables us to maintain and sustain the entrepreneurial spirit that exists in this company.
Bringing innovation to the finance and banking area, I imagine that has its own challenges, because I feel like it's in some ways a giant that doesn't want to move, or rather there's so many restrictions and regulations around it that hold it back. How do you see that?
Well, I think financial services is a very exciting place to be right now, and not just right now, but I would say in my last 18 years that I've been in the industry, I've seen a significant shift in terms of the innovation that's happening in the financial services space. I mean, there's tons of money, venture cap money available for financial services. There is a significant amount of startups that are being created in financial services sector all over the world. And then not only that, there are large financial services institutions. They are actually acquiring a lot of startup companies to sort of enable that innovative sort of a culture within that large organization.
You don't see any restrictions or anything? You just see it as an open book, an open opportunity?
Yeah, well, so there's of course regulations. I mean, we have to comply with the regulations, and the banks and the institutions have to comply with the regulations. But those regulations are not necessarily affecting innovations in the area when we engage with the customer, right? I mean, there are some regulations that the banks have to instill or implement, like for example, lending, know your customer, and all the processes that goes around it. But what technology and innovation is doing is making them much faster and even complying with those regulations. So regulation is not impacting financial services' ability to innovate at all. In fact, I think it's quite the opposite. If you just look at just recently, the announcement was made by Apple and Goldman regarding the buy now, pay later, and there's tons of startups and other institutions venturing into the buy now, pay later paradigm, which is a relatively new concept if you think historically, right? So, and then if you look at the financial services as a whole, the era of brick and mortar financial institution is kind of fading away, right? I mean, the concept of financial services is changing quite a lot. It's all becoming digitized or digital experiences, and where financial services essentially is going to be like kind of like pseudo Amazon, where you have multiple products offered by different institutions who specialize in specific products, and then there are these fintechs or these digital companies that enable them to to sell them or provide a digital storefront. And therefore, in the end, there is a win-win story for everyone. I think, and I think the consumer wins in this space, because now the consumer has much more choices across multiple products. They don't necessarily have to buy all the products from one institution. They can buy one product from this institution because this institution provides checking account capability, one of the best checking account services, versus another institution that provides the best mortgages, for example. So they're able to shop, and the consumer wins. And also on the consumer side, it actually encourages competition, and therefore the pricing gets affected, right? So that's the reason I think it's a very dynamic industry now. And with all the innovation that's happening and all the venture capital that's available and has been invested over the last 5 years, I think it's just showing right now in terms of what kind of impact it's having. I mean, we get calls from institutions that are not just large multi-billion-dollar in valuation companies, but also startup company out of XYZ countries is calling us. So there's a slew of investment and a huge diversity of customer bases that we are seeing in financial services, and we are right in the middle of that.
You see, I love you painting the picture that it's ripe for innovation. If anything, the regulations actually push to innovate even further, right. And there's a lot of startups that are making it happen. Are the traditional institutions, the large banks of different cases, are they keeping up with the startups? Is it a neck and neck race? Is one lagging behind the other? And what do you see as the space?
See, I think there are certain advantages that the large financial institutions have in terms of the infrastructure and the operations infrastructure that they have. I think the deposit volume is significantly high. I think there's a lot of advantages over there, and there are a lot of advantages even on startups that are. So I think so. I don't see that it's a complete substitution of financial institutions by the startups, but I certainly see that the startups are creating a disruption in the traditional financial services market. Where I mean, you have also heard Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan Chase have said this about 8 or 9 years ago, and continues to talk about how Silicon Valley is disrupting the traditional financial services. It's a very open statement that he made, and it's true. But that doesn't mean that they will take over, right? But I think where it is serious enough and interesting enough, where large financial institutions are taking a serious look at it, and also trying to change their own internal cultures towards innovation, either by changing the policies and procedures and how they operate. Because it is difficult to operate as a startup when you're a very large organization, right? I mean, it's a very different paradigm. And I'm also seeing a large financial institutions also going out there and acquiring startups to not only to acquire the product, but also to embed the innovative culture that comes along with the startup as well. So I don't think one is better than the other, but I think in the end, the consumer wins, because now you have much more diversification of choices and the fixed pricing. And from a consumer standpoint, a customer standpoint, you have many more choices available.
Let's imagine someone who's watching here right now that works inside, whether it's a larger enterprise or a smaller startup, and they're wanting to be able to roll out a solution like Provenir, or being able to get better insight or analytics on the risk management options. Is there any, I'm going to ask this in a different way. Is there any bad recommendations that you've seen people are making, giving to these companies that you're like, oh, don't listen to that. That's not right. You should really be doing this.
I mean, we get pulled into by our customers all the time for best practices, right? There's a customer, for example, that we are partnering with right now. They are very much interested in developing fraud monitoring capabilities, and so we are not there to sort of audit anyone else's work, but we are brought in as subject matter expertise in these experts in the area of financial services, business processes related to credit risk decisioning, buy now pay later, payments, and insurance, and so on and so forth. So we are asked to consult quite a few times because of our diversity of our customers all around the world, right? We got customers on one end that are large, multi-billion-dollar in asset valuation from a large financial institutions, as well as startups, and pretty much all across the world. So we have a wide array of experiences in terms of how what other customers are doing and what markets are doing, and we get consulted quite a lot in terms of how do we deploy a buy now pay later solutions much quicker. Same thing in fraud, as same thing in any kind of credit offerings.
If you had to give a piece of advice on being able to roll a solution out faster, as far as that process that you do, give me a nugget, just a very tactical nugget that you've been providing maybe recently in some of your conversations.
I would say no-code platforms are fantastic. They're much more powerful. We are generally asked by our customers to implement our products at a much faster rate. And the reason why our customers come to us is because of speed to market. So I would say not shy away from a no-code development movement. I think it's here to stay, and it's actually growing at a much faster rate than anyone anticipated. So my advice would be to actually look at no-code development platform like Provenir, but not just as a pure technical platform, right? I would say that coupled with domain expertise. So, for example, our product is industry agnostic, right? I mean, we can use a product across any industries, but we chose to be specialists in financial services. So our services organization is an expert, and our product organization is an expert in financial services, because we have partnered with customers all around the world. So my advice would be not just look at the generic no-code development platform, but also select a partner who understands your industry very well, so you're able to be relevant for the customer.
Taking just a second to dive a little bit deeper into the tech itself. For those that do love technology, can you share a bit about some of the machine learning that you use, and where you're getting your data, and how you've worked on that itself? For those that are a bit more curious about what's behind the technology itself.
What drives our differentiation? I would say our drivers around technology primarily is around innovation, but customer centricity, speed to market, a relevant domain content, underpinning machine learning. I mean, those are all the specific, I would say, product-related drivers that we look at as we are building our roadmaps and building our differentiating technology. Our core technology, however, is state-of-the-art. We are cloud native across multi-cloud with Amazon, Azure, Google. We are also tool agnostic, so that means that we can leverage models anywhere from Python, R, Spark, ML to TensorFlow. It's very fully built on like Java stack with a true microservices architecture, which is enabled with the consumption-based infrastructure. So you can scale up, scale down on demand, and more importantly, we can onboard a customer very, very quickly. So that's a nutshell in terms of what our high-level tech stack looks like. Underpinning all of this stuff is data. So we are not just a tech platform, but we actually have a global digital marketplace, which actually consolidates in a single to use, easy to use API, any kind of data set relevant to the credit markets or credit industry, right? So whether it's credit bureau data, whether it's alternate data, whether it's name and address verification, email verification, any data that's required for decisioning related to lending or credit is available on our global marketplace. So, and it's easy to use. So what that really means, a one-stop shop for customers to, when they're building a startup, or, if a new startup, they want to build a new algorithm or new capability in buy now, pay later or fraud or whatever within financial services, they can actually go to our digital marketplace and look at, okay, these are all the separate, different kind of data that's needed and available on single click of a button, and embed them in your business processes to go to market much faster, right? So if our customers actually, agree to retaining the data, right, then we would retain customer data, fully secured and fully encrypted, of course, and with all the highest level of security available on infrastructure on Amazon as well as Google and Azure, and that data is available. So combined with the data that I talked about that's available in a marketplace with alternate data, as well as the transaction data that's coming in through our transaction processing for a specific customer, that relevant customer can use that data for analytics, for reporting, as well as for retraining their models, right, and making the model as more close to reality on a near real-time basis if that's needed, right? We provide an infrastructure and capability that stores all the data also, and then also enables model management capabilities, model monitoring capabilities on top of a product as well. So it's very comprehensive, and it's not just generic, which services a horizontal market. It's very financial services which helps specific, right? So it's very relevant to financial institutions to look at a product because it's very relevant for them.
Being able to see this or imagine this in play, can you just kind of wrap this up and maybe even give one of the use cases right now where from end to end, I don't know if you can name a company as well, just help us walk us through, like, how does it look in play as who's the person that would be using this in there, and then how they would actually roll it out.
So I would say, a best example is probably one of our customers, Klarna, out of the EMEA region, has used our product, has been using a product for many years now. And they were probably one of the innovators or the early adopters of buy now, pay later capability. I would say they provide the payments after delivery, assuming the credit and fraud risk, so that the sellers can be paid. So in our plan, they're utilizing our product to enable the entire buy now, pay later solution that they have, and they are a leader in this space. And Klarna essentially selected Provenir Decisioning Cloud to develop custom onboarding, merchant onboarding, and the due diligence of applications. Customer onboarding was configured to process hundreds of transactions per second to support rapid business growth, again, without compromising the control and accuracy of the operation. So, and Klarna now is a leading provider of invoice-based payments for retailers, employing over 3,500 people and servicing something around, I think, 45 million customers in 18 countries. And we are the underlying product that enabled all that right from its inception.
What do you see on the roadmap kind of ahead that is coming up that you're excited about, since you love innovation, that they can speak about?
I would say when I look at from a roadmap perspective, our focus is really more about how do we improve the lives of a customer, and how do we we anticipate customer needs and market needs. I mean, that's how we look at things. So in that context, innovation is a primary core competency of our organization, right? So we allocate a large percentage of our revenue or capital expenses or capital budget on innovation. I would say the area that we are heavily focused on right now. So we've been implementing buy now, like I said, buy now, pay later, fraud, credit card, auto financing for years. For a decade plus, we've been doing that. We know that market very well, and we've implemented tons of solutions in that area. What we focus on right now is that how do we actually make those capabilities even more faster, right? So that's one area of our innovation. So providing it to make it as turnkey as possible. So our system can be implemented at any on the customer site, anywhere from matter of a week to maybe 90 days or less, right? And I'm talking about large global enterprises, right? Which is we are saying, okay, that's great, but we want to be even much more faster. So how do we have an offering for, let's say, fraud orchestration or buy now pay later, where it could be a near turnkey solution where the customer can go on online and essentially onboard them with buy now pay later in near real time basis. So making it near turnkey as possible. So we're doing a lot of work in that area. So we already have the underlying platform. So it's not really about the platform and technology at this point. It's really more about the content. So that's one area of innovation where we are further enhancing our abilities to make our solutions more turnkey and making it even more faster than 1 week implementation. The other area, when you look at a roadmap, is more about how do we focus on further expanding our capabilities in the data area and data science area. So we're expanding our data science talent pool quite aggressively. We also want to further improve the data scientist life cycle in terms of their work processes, and how do we make it easier for data scientists to do their jobs on a day-to-day basis. And on top of that, providing algorithms or models for specific verticals or for specific industries, and package them as an API on a global marketplace. But our focus right now is really more about data science, enabling data scientists, providing much more diverse. We already have a lot of models, but much more diverse set of machine learning models to service multiple segments, and as well as further enriching our product with multiple content, right? We invested heavily 2 years ago in a global marketplace. Now we have a significant amount of data vendors on our global marketplace. Now we want to continue on that journey, and as well as build more content on a product to enable much faster speed to market with specific packages related to fraud and buy now pay later and things along those lines. So how can we be ahead of the market? We definitely don't want to be a Me Too provider. I mean, we're just not in that. I think 10 years ago, we already disrupted the market, in my opinion, and we want to continue to do a disruption in this area within financial services, leveraging AI, machine learning, and data to further serve a customer much better.
As a technology leader, just taking a moment here, looking at the banking fintech sector as a whole. So not just specifically what you're doing, as a whole. What technologies do you see on the horizon that holds great promise to make some change or improve the fintech and banking sector as a whole?
I think there's quite a few, right? But I would say the two that I'm really excited about, and we are, also investing in those things. Number one is really all about artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data. So that whole paradigm, how do we continue to invest? I think that's good. There's a whole lot of promises, and the access to data scientists, even though the talent pool is quite scarce in this area, but because of availability of data, and then a lot of investment made at the academia level to sort of educate people in data science. I think so. There are a lot of data scientists coming out, and a lot of people are transitioning from the current skill sets to data science, and therefore leveraging the data. And I think that whole area is going to further enhance. But it all starts with the talent, right? But I'm seeing expansion in the talent pool related to data scientists as well over the next 3 to 4 or 5 years. And I think that's just going to enable companies to deploy machine learning at a much faster rate and with much more advanced capabilities. So I think that's one area where I see financial institutions or any industry leveraging data and then machine learning and artificial intelligence to improve their decisioning, improve the business processes, improve the predictions, and being much more accurate. And that this is a very complicated, but it's also maturing field. I think that's one area which is very exciting. And another area, in my opinion, is really going to be all about interfaces. So by interfaces, I mean like voice activated interfaces, video interfaces, augmented reality. These are all areas where traditional keyboards are, at some point in the future probably will scale down, and we'll see other advanced, more advanced interfaces, how we interact with computers. This is an area of a lot of research that's happening. You're already seeing the basics of that with chatbots and things like that. And I see a huge influx of innovation in that area as well, where you can sort of interface with people in augmented reality fashion, as well as have voice activation and video-based interaction with computers. And therefore, it all affects then the end user experience, right? You're making the interaction of the customer with the financial institution much more part of how they interact with on a day-to-day basis with their friends, right? So it becomes much more seamless in terms of how do you integrate the physical world with the digital world. So the whole area of interfaces is something which holds a lot of promises in terms of how it's going to enhance our daily lives, I would say.
Thank you for sharing your view on the future. I agree with you on the interfaces. That'll be fascinating to see where that goes next. But also the insight of where Provenir has been from and the challenges that kind of have been faced in this area. But you guys are focused on solving it, bringing data and the analytics and the machine learning to bring new insights. Really appreciate your time, Veejay. For those that want to learn more, you can go over to provenir.com. That's Provenir.com. Provenir. Thank you, Veejay, again, for the insights that you shared.
Thank you so much for the time, Alexander. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
And we'll see you all on the next episode of UpTech Report. Have you seen a company using AI, machine learning, or other technology to transform the way we live, work, and do business? Go to uptechreport.com and let us know.